Okay, so you're ready to start construction 1120, which is prerequisite for the 20 level projects. So yeah, let's get started. This booklet's very important. You need to use a combination of this video, this booklet, and this prototype to help you out. It's really good to use all three of those. They all have different information. Depends on what type of learner you are. Maybe you need all three, maybe you just need one, but most of us would need a combination of all three. So what I want you to do is look at the booklet, do your questions, that kind of thing. Then take a good look at these legs and what they do and how they're built, and look at them closely. They're not just these little cubes, okay? There's a little bit more going on here. All right, so I want you to take a look at the prototype, watch the video, and use the booklet. Okay, combination of these three and your previous learning should help you have success with this, and you'll end up with a nice little end table with a drawer in for your room or wherever you want to put it. All right, so let's get started. Okay, what I want you to watch today, guys, is how to get started on Con 1120. We're going to start with the legs. So I'll take you through the steps of milling these up, getting them all square, getting them to the right size, and then we'll go into cutting the mortises, which is the rectangular holes in the edges. But yeah, let's just get you started on milling right now. Okay, so we'll get going on 1120, just doing the legs right now. So when you look at the instructions, okay, find the legs and read all the instructions. There are some important details in there. It says here, before beginning this procedure, go take a look at the legs to see what you're making. It's always good to know what you're making, so go take a look at the prototype. Next, it says to mill 8 pieces of 2x4 to 30 millimeters, which would be the thickness. The width would be 75 millimeters, and the finished length would be 440. Those are the finished sizes. So for length, when we're cutting here on the miter saw as we're roughing stuff out, you want to make it 2 centimeters longer than your 440. So 440 millimeters, so we're going to cut this first one to 460, or we're going to cut 8 of these to 460 millimeters long. All right, so grab 2x4s out of the storeroom, and I've already checked this one. I've marked my crown and my upside, okay, and that's really important so that the saw doesn't kick back on you. Now, I'll use a felt pen so you guys can see these. So 440 is our finished size, our rough size is 460. So we're going to mark this at 460. Just make it tick about 1 centimeter long and put an X to the side. You don't care how long it is. Okay, so we're marked at 460. We're going to get it lined up, and we're going to cut it. Okay, we're all lined up here. Remember, this is your rough cut, so it doesn't have to be bang on. But remember that we made it 20 millimeters longer than our finished size. There we go. We want to just cut one right now, and then let's continue on while we're at the miter saw and get all 8 of these cut right now. So you can go ahead, cut 8 of these. That's your next step. Okay, so now we're going to start milling these up, and we're going to go through the 3 steps of milling. We're going to start by milling our face. Look down it, and we need to find the face that is concave, and we're going to mark that with lines all the way across. Do this to all 8 of them right now. Okay, check them so that you're ready. Once you're running on a piece of equipment, then you don't have to stop. Okay, so we're just doing the face. There we go. Set the fence so you only have about 1 centimeter of extra blade exposed. Lock it, bring that over. Oops. right about there. Okay, make sure the dust collector is running, and then we can joint these faces off. Push paddle at the front, push stick at the back, slowly walk it through the cutter head. Take a look. Okay, you can see we still have some more to do. A little bit more. Usually you will get it in about 3 passes. Maximum. There we go. Got all the marks off. So do that to all 8 of them right now. Okay, so let's assume you have all 8 of your pieces cut to length, rough length, jointed, so you have one flat surface that's perfectly flat. And now we have to plane these down. Now, the finished size, it says, is 30 millimeters. So I want you to keep these at about 32 millimeters thick. So use a ruler for measuring these. Right now I'm at 36 mils, so I have to set the thickness planer to 39. So bring that up to 39. Here we go. Work your lines across. Again, you can just do this in pencil, but it's a lot easier on the video if I show you using a felt or a marker. Make sure the dust collector is on. Turn the thickness planer on, and let's mill these down. We're looking for 32 millimeters. So 1 through, and through, and for the next one through, and do all of these right now, all 8 of them at this setting. Wind it 1/2 turn, and send 1 through, get the other one ready. Grabbing them now, so it should start planing on the next pass. There we go. Another 1/2 turn. And through again. There, they're starting to plane. Remember, all 8 of them through at this thickness. Another 1/2 turn, send it through. Once the end of this disappears, send the next one through. Here we go, let's just take a look, see where we're at, measure accurately. Probably 1 more pass here. Right there. Just make sure all 8 are at 32 millimeters. And once all 8 are at 32 millimeters, then we're going to go on to taking care of the edges. Okay, so we have these planed down to 32 mils. So we have 2 flat surfaces now, because these are going to get glued together, okay, like that to form a leg. So make sure everything's done flat. all the surfaces, both surfaces. Those should be parallel to each other. Now we're going to do the edges. So we have to look and find our crook, which in this case is right here. So we're going to mark that. Again, mark all 8 of them. So once you're at the machine and you're all set up, you can just continue on. It'll be much more efficient that way. Okay, so we have our marks going all the way across. That's going to let us know when this edge is perfectly straight. Going to adjust the fence again, so you only have about 1 centimeter of extra blade exposed. Lock that. Get your skinny push stick, your push paddle, and we're going to joint these. Pressure tight up against the fence because we want to make 90 degrees down at the very bottom. Take your push stick, walk it through. Okay, so we got quite a bit of it. Another pass. Still see the marker lines just barely. Give it one more. There we go. Number 2 here. Now again, make sure you do all 8 of them while you're all set up. There we go. So now we have one edge on each piece perfectly straight, and that's going to run along the rip fence on the table saw to cut it to width. Okay, so now we're ready to cut these to width. We have our straight edge. I always like to have you guys mark this with an arrow, and the F means fence. That's the edge that's going to go against the fence. That's the edge you've jointed, and it's perfectly straight. Okay, we don't want the one that still has a crown on it. You don't want that against the fence. You want the part that you took to the jointer, and you made this edge perfectly straight. So identify it with an arrow and an F. Okay, so let's get things set up here. You have to make sure you have your riving knife in. Okay, that's crucial. Now we want to raise the gullets. The gullets are the parts that go the deepest down into the saw blade. And they help to cool the blade and clear the sawdust. We want the bottom of the gullet about 3 millimeters above your material. So right there. We're looking for 75 millimeters. So in this case, we can cut it exactly to 75. All right, we need a push stick. And you can turn your dust collector on. Oh, it's not plugged in, but it's too noisy for this anyhow. Okay, we're going to turn our saw on. Push stick ready. A straight edge against the fence. Left hand right here, pushing the board tight against the fence, and your thumb holding it down. This one's short enough. You can start with the push stick on it. Just don't let it tilt like that, and start cutting out. Always clear your outfeed table. Keep that piece over there. There that. Go to the next piece. And okay, so do all 8 of your pieces right now, and then we're actually going to glue them together. Okay, it's now time to glue up the legs. So you should have, basically 4 units of this. Okay, and they're all oversized a little bit, because when we glue, sometimes they scooch around and they don't stay in exactly the same place. Don't worry about it at this point. If it's extreme, if these slide more than, let's say, 4 millimeters out, width-wise, let me know and I'll come and help you with it. Okay, but it's pretty straightforward. What I like to do, first of all, I like to open up my clamps so that they're all ready. And you need 3 C clamps we're going to use for these. Excuse me. C clamps have more holding strength than the F clamps, and this is more of their purpose. F clamps are for light duty clamping. So now I like to mark these just so I can get everything lined up and in the right order. So number 1 and number 2. Okay, so number 1. So then when you go to put it together, when you're gluing it, okay, you get it roughly in the same spot, and you get number 1 with number 1, not number 1 with number 2. So what I like to do, make sure you have your glue, a wet paper towel handy, and your clamps set. Now, you want to be quite liberal with the glue, which means use lots. So what I do, I'll move that one back so I have a little room. Take this one, I'm going to put it down. Take this one, I'm going to put it down. Then I'm going to take my glue. Like I said, be quite liberal. I'll do this so you guys can see a little easier. I do it as kind of a zigzag, kind of like that. We want 100% glue coverage. Okay, we can't have any dry areas. They call that a starved joint. Take your index finger, spread it. Get it right to the edge. Okay, I can see already, I can feel that I'm going to need a little bit more glue in some of these spots. Okay, but work fast. Actually today when I'm in the shop, it's really quite warm today. So yeah, I'm going to have to work, fairly quick. It's a little short on glue down at that end. Okay, but you don't want 95% coverage, you want 100% coverage, no dry areas. Okay, that is starving the joint. It may stick together for a while, but you want it to stick together forever. Okay, there's one. Okay, and you should be able to see the wood grain through it a little bit. Okay, that's how you know you have enough. Take it, put it up against that one. One nice thing about putting them together rough like that is that the air is not getting in to the glue at this point, so it's not evaporating as quickly. Okay, number 2, same deal. So again, be liberal with the glue. Okay? We're paying for it, not you. So don't try and save us any money by not using enough glue. Okay, there we go. Get everything situated properly. That's why it's good to mark it. I had to spin that one around a couple times. Okay, I'm going to clean my fingers so I don't get glue all over the clamps. So try and maintain cleanliness when you're working, you guys. If you get glue fingerprints on your project, it won't stain properly. Okay, so we're going to put a clamp on. Now you want the pads to be roughly, halfway up. Don't want them way down there, don't want them way up here. Want them roughly in the middle, like so. I'm going to move this way so it's easier to turn. Okay. Okay, just put it on so it just barely holds on, holds itself in place. And do one in the center, right there. And then one over near the end. I like to lay the clamps down, I just find it less to handle. Okay, so we've got that on there. Now, at this end, we're pretty good. Tighten that a little bit more. Go to the middle one. Tighten it a little bit more. Go to the end one. And tighten it a little bit more. Okay, and then do that all once more. Tight, tight, and tight. And that's what you're looking for. Okay, don't worry about scraping this side. In about 15 minutes when the glue is dried over here, we will scrape this side off. And the reason we only do it on the one side is because these edges are going to go against the planer. We're going to, or the jointer, sorry. We're going to joint these down so they're flat. This other edge we're going to cut off on the table saw, so it doesn't matter if there's glue there. So in about 15 minutes we're going to scrape these. So that's how you glue up the legs. Okay, now once your legs have been glued together and they're dry and they're ready to go, so these have been sitting for about 2 hours, so they're ready to joint one edge, and then we're going to cut off this edge. So set the jointer up. Make sure you've scraped this edge so there's no glue on it. That over. Put marks on it. Tight up against the fence. See, it took quite a bit off, but not all of it. Tight against the fence, this way we ensure we get 90 degrees. And there you go. So that's now ready for the table saw. Okay, we've jointed this edge. We're now going to cut this off. So we need to go to, where are we on the steps? Okay, we have to cut these legs to 60 millimeters wide. Okay, and we also, I'll show you how to cut them for the thickness as well, instead of using the thickness plane. So let's set the blade height. Fence out of the road here. Now this probably have to come up as high as possible. Like that. Okay, so I'm going to set this to 60 mils. Right there. Get your push stick. It's no different than any other cut, even though the blade's high. It's just what you've done before. Keep your left hand here, okay, and this side of the throat plate, and everything will be good. And just like that, push the on, just don't let it go. And right off the freeway. Now, clear this out. Use a push stick, don't use your hand. Put that in the garbage. Then take this piece that we just cut and roll it this way. Cut edges down, and now we're going to cut it to the proper thickness. So I like you guys to do it in this fashion, and in that way, this will be exactly 60, and this will be exactly 60. If you had made an error and made this 61, then this would be exactly 61, and that's okay. Okay, we have 1 millimeter tolerance. But if we don't change the saw, we'll cut all 8 right now. Okay, we're now going to cut all 4 of these legs to length. So what you want to do initially is just cut off an end. Just cut off, you know you have 2 centimeters extra because we rough cut these 2 centimeters too long, or 20 mils too long. So you can just eyeball this. let's bring it over like so. Okay, hold it snug. Now, once you do that, now you have this nice straight edge, or end, sorry. Now, measure it exactly. The finished size is 430 mils. Small tick, put an X on the waist side, take a square, and make a line all the way across. The only reason we're using the square now, and why we didn't use it before, was before nothing was straight. Now we straightened everything. Okay, so now the square will give us a true 90-degree angle right in here, and that's what we're looking for. So we've done that. Now line it up. I'm going to show you a little trick here. Once it's lined up perfectly, take your pencil, put a little line on the table. Make sure you use pencil, don't use pen. And that will be your line, so you won't have to measure anymore. So you're just going to take this one, line it up to there, and cut. Wait for it to stop, and then you end up with your leg, the perfect length, the perfect width, and the perfect thickness. 60 by 60 by 430. There you go. That's how you get the legs to this point. Okay, so now it's time to gather a ruler, a square, a sharp pencil, and all four legs. And I want you to lay them out. Back left, back right, front left, front right. Okay, that's very important to identify that really clearly because they all look very similar, but they're all made a little bit different. So make sure you've done that on the top of back left, back right, front left, front right. Okay, so now we're going to start laying out where the mortises are going to go. So we're going to start on the back right. We've marked our X so we know which surface we're doing it on. First thing we want to do is we want to find our center line. So hopefully your math skills won't fail you here. Half of 60 is 30. And go down about this far and do another one, little tick at 30. Then connect those. And that, don't worry about the length of it, just make it at least as long as your mortise is going to be. So there's our center line, okay, marked with a CL, like so. Now, we have to measure 10 mils down. So one little trick I like to do is just put my 10 mils right on the edge of the wood and then make my tick. And then we have to go down another 50 mils, which would make it 60 millimeters from the end. So we go to 60, we make a tick, and we are left, double check, we're left with 50 millimeters in between. Then take your square, draw a line across at that first tick at 10 mils, and then down here. So now we have 50 millimeters from here to here and 10 millimeters from here to here. Now we have to figure out the width of the mortise. So in the book it tells you it's 3/8 of an inch wide. So half of 3/8 is 3/16. Okay, so what I do is I just take, in this case I'll use the 7-inch line, and I'll put that right on my center. And then I'll count over 3/16. So 1/16, 2/16, 3/16, a little tick there. And then I'll come the other way. 1/16, 2/16, 3/16, make a little tick that way. Now, you can mark this long line in a couple of different ways. One way you can do it is using the squares. Take the square, right on your tick, nice sharp pencil. I'll use fairly dark lines so you guys can see it on the video. Okay, you can do it like that, or if I've shown you how to use the marking gauge just by using your finger, you can do that too, like so. Okay, and that one doesn't look as accurate. Let's double check that. And it is, and it is. It just looks wider because it's a thick line. Once you've marked that out, show it to me, and if you've done this nicely and correctly, I can show you some ways which will save you having to mark out each leg each time. Because in theory, I guess you have, 8 of these to mark out, but if you do one really well, I'll save you time on all the others. So take your time, be accurate, and then I'll show you how to do all the other 7 really easily. There you go. Okay, so you have laid out where your mortises are going to be cut. Make sure you've done them on all 4 legs. Well, I would have given you some tips on that. After you've shown me your first one, I'll give you some tips. But then we're getting all set up to do the rest. So the one thing we need to do is we need to mark how deep this hollow chisel mortiser is going to go in. And I think in the book it's 20 millimeters. So let's mark in 20. And let's do it right on the top, kind of on our BR. So going in 20 mils, like so. So we're going to set it in the vise, put it on the spacer. It just helps you guys. You don't have to turn the handle quite as much. And let's clamp it, get it close to clamped in here. Now we want to set our bit to cut down to our line. So we want to go right to the top of this arc. That's on the hollow chisel mortiser. Hopefully you can see that on the video. Okay, bring it down and get it lined up. Push it right up against there. Too much. And again, this one actually you don't have to be dead on accurate. Once you get it, adjust your depth stop. So the depth stop stops the tool from coming down any further. So all the cuts will be that deep. Now, put the piece in your vise, and now clamp it in, nice and snug. You don't have to reef on it, just make it snug. So we've set our depth. Now we have to set up our back and front, okay? So bring the bit down, really close, but don't let it touch. Then you want to move the small wheel on the left until everything lines up perfectly. Once you get it perfect, then all you have to control is this, moving the sled left to right. So we're set up nice. We'll show you how to drill some mortises here. So bring this edge of the chisel right up to your alignment marks, your pattern, whatever you want to call it, and then just plunge down. Okay, you should always have sawdust shavings coming out of here, out of the hollow chisel mortising bit. Okay, if you don't put any pressure on it, it's just going to spin. Okay, it's not going to do any cutting. This one requires some force. Okay, and then you'll feel it bottom out. Once it bottoms out, oh, you hear that ticking sound? That means a piece of wood has got stuck in between the bit and the hollow chisel. So we have to shut it off, and we have to extract that piece of wood. Looks like it's right up here. And that's going to happen periodically. So why it's good to always bring a pencil with you. Turn that on, see if it spits it out. Nope. What happens is the bit gets really hot, and it just takes the temper out of it. It ruins the bit, basically. So we want to get rid of that before we continue. Can't get it out, which this one's being stubborn, of course. Oh, there, maybe we got it there. Ah, there, that's all it was. Okay, so we've done that one. Now move over about half the distance of the bit. And this one will cut easier because you only have 2 edges cutting, or 3 edges, sorry, of the chisel. see, we're staying nice and straight, and our mortise is getting larger. We're elongating it. And I'm going to go right to the end, like that. Then, once we've done it, do a couple of quick passes. This will help you out later on, so you won't have quite so much to clean out by hand. So I do 2 passes typically of that. I find it saves me a bunch of work later on with hand tools. Once you do 2 passes there, lift it up, shut it off, take it out of the vise, and there you have one of the mortises on your back right leg. Now you're going to do it on this side, and you don't change any settings here. Just leave it all the same, because we want these all symmetrical. So don't change the table at all, other than left to right, but do not move it front to back. If you do, give me a call and I'll help you get it back to the right spot. Okay, after you've cut all your mortises, now we just have to clean them out. So lay them down on a bench, get a couple of F-clamps, just so they don't bounce around on you too much. And get a 1/4 inch chisel, get a 1/2 inch chisel, and get a mallet. You may need the mallet, you may not. So the first thing we do here, we take the 1/4 inch and we take the flat surface and we put it right tight up against the bottom of your mortise. And then we cut out that little corner. And that corner, now come over to this end, there, there. Then, you probably won't need the mallet for this one. Take your 1/2 inch chisel, put the flat part of the chisel right up against the wall of the mortise, and do 2 passes like that. Then, put the flat side over here, and do 2 passes on this side. Then, take your 1/4 inch chisel, put it right in this corner, hold on to it firm, pull it towards you. Then come over to this other corner, same thing, pull towards you. Then reverse, go over to this corner, pull towards you, over to this corner, pull towards you. And you'll find that you've removed a bunch of extra wood that was kind of stuck down at the bottom that the hollow chisel mortiser didn't get. And you can see that much wood came out of it. I didn't do any cutting. Okay, I was just knocking out these loose pieces. So now we have a nice mortise that doesn't have any debris inside of it. Once you do that to all the legs, then the legs are done. And then we're going to get you started on the aprons to make the tenon that is going to fit into your beautiful mortises.